Hi! My name is Carolina. Welcome to this channel. I knit in a machine like this. I also crochet. I'm not really good with hand knitting, but I know a little bit about knitting crochet, okay? And I really like looking at inspiration. You know, I like looking at Pinterest and I like looking at high fashion runways in the fashion weeks and see what kind of crochets and knits they have. And I like to yap about it. I also like to think of how I would make the things that I see on the runway. Yeah, this is what we're gonna talk about, knits and crochets in New York Fashion Weeks. Let me know your thoughts and opinions throughout the video. Anything that you think about, let me know. Let me know. Oh, by the way, I did not research anything about the shows, like what the collections are about, and I literally am just looking at the knits and crochets and thinking about how they're constructed. I'm not looking into like the design and how it relates to the team that they gave themselves, how it's gonna sell, who's gonna wear this. I mean, I do like to think if I'm gonna wear this or not, but in general, it's just to look at knits. Okay, let's go. Monse. So Monse, I have only one little look by Monse, and this beautiful, beautiful intarsia knit. Whenever I see a piece like this in a runway, I usually think it's done in a machine kind of like mine. This is a machine that's completely manual. It's mechanic, okay? But it has 200 needles, and this thing, it goes back and forth making the rows of the knit. So it's quite handy. It's a lot faster than normal traditional hand knit, okay? And intarsia is the technique that we use in knit to draw. If you see a knit is, if you don't know what knit is that cloth that has the V's like this, okay? To draw in that, you cannot really go beyond the little V. So each little rectangle of thing is one stitch. A color can be different per stitch, but it cannot be different in between the stitches. So you have to have a different color of yarn for each color that you want to use, okay? So I have to transform my drawing in a graph, and then I have to read the graph in the knit or by hand if you're doing it by hand. And what is interesting about intarsia is that it has the constraints of the knit. It has to be like pixelated almost. The smaller your knit is, so the tinier your needles are, or the more amount of needles you have in a machine, the more detailed your design can be. So the more colors you can add by roll, and the bigger the yarn, the more pixelated your design will be. And what I find very interesting about this Monse design is that it's quite a teeny tiny little gauze. So that means that they could have done this design way less pixelated. These flowers, they could be a lot more detailed. They could look a lot more like flowers in nature than drawings of flowers pixelized. But the brand chose to take this helicopter flying in my house. Yeah, I find it very interesting that they chose to bring this aspect of knitwear, that is the pixelization of a design, to this outfit, and they made it purposefully. I love it. Also, I really like, if you see the hems in the sleeves and in the bottom of the jumper, they seem to me like they're fold over hems. So you just do your knit as usual, and then you fold it, and then you pick up the next roll with the first roll. So it's a thing. But in this rib here for the neckline, it's ribbed, and they continued the design. See? I think this is so beautiful. I don't know how to do that, honestly, and I would like to learn. Okay, I talked way too much for one brand. Okay, let's go. Alaia. Alaia has this very beautiful sheer knits. I love them. I love how they look. I love just like a straight knit. And these were probably machine made, like factory made. Knits, they can be done by machines, and they're very good machines that make them. After all, like, knits are in most of our wardrobe. Anything that stretches, like gym clothing, stretchy clothing, a lot of loungewear, most of it, it's a knit fabric that is done by heavy machinery. I have never worked in factory, so I don't really know the types of machines that would do what. But this is a lot more delicate, and I can do something like this in my machine very easily, very fast. So if you have a knitting machine, these types of garments could be quite fun to make because they are just straightforward. You come up with a pattern and you knit. Let me just show you really quick. Alright, so this is a domestic knitting machine. It can knit up to 200 needles, many rows as you want, and this counts the rows. This is the carriage. We put the yarn here. It goes through the needles and it moves them. It makes the knitting motion. So every time this carriage just goes like this, it knits one row, and each one of these is a needle making a stitch. That cable is from my table, not from my machine. So the machine is mechanical. You need to move it yourself. If you look up, I'll show you. Can you see there's this thing? I have my yarn there where I just showed you, and I put it up this, like this, and through this antenna, and then I will pass it through the needles to cast them on. So I choose how many needles I want. Cast on 30. So I will loop like this the needles, and this is basically me casting on a project. So a yarn like this is quite thin for this machine, and that will make it so that I can do an effect like the alaia dress. But this machine can hold up to a few different yarn sizes. I cast on my yarn, and then I come here in the carriage. This is what knits. I can just put my yarn here, and this is it. So here there's this thing, and I can choose a tension. So the machine has all of these tensions from 0 to 10. For this size of yarn, if I want to make like a very nice looking, just like standard knit that doesn't look too sheer, I think I would do a tension for 3 or 4. And if I want something very sheer, something like the alaia pieces that we just looked into, I could go for an 8 or a 9. And that will create a very loose tension, so there would be a lot of space in between the yarn. So let me show you. And this was one row. And now this machine, actually we need to put a lot of tension here so that the yarn doesn't fall, and there's no space for me to do this now, so I just have to bring the needles forward to create this piece of fabric. And now I can put my little weights here so that I don't need to keep pushing the needles forward every time. And then I can just knit. See? So this would be like the step up from hand knitting. This is quite straightforward, and especially for a piece like this that is just a knit, there's no intricate design in it, this would be quite fast even in a machine like this, which would probably not be what the alaia atelier is using. And then I can just cast it off. I use one of this, a latch hook, and I cast off. So yeah, this is actually a tighter tension than the alaia one. It's very nice to see the layering, and it becomes like less and less sheer from just like layering, stacking knits. Also, I really like, if you look closely here in this dress, the like increases, because this is pretty much a godet. So it is very form-fitting, and then it grows because like it's thinner here, and then it grows here in the hips. The dress grows, and it seems to me like it's like an increase. So I think this piece was done machine made. I don't know if something more manual like this or something more industrial. I would think industrial. I just don't know how industrial machines work. If they can shape knitwear like this, I would presume maybe, but these here seem to me like increases, you know, like if you're going to hand stitch a godet, do 2 stitches in the same stitch to grow. It looks like this for me, but at the same time, like there's no way this is handmade, so I don't know. And then we have a peach one. I think it looks really nice. And then these are really fun. So I don't actually think these are knit. When you're knitting, you can add yarn or whatever this is. This to me looks a lot like pipe cleaners twisted. This one, I don't know what it looks like. It's very strange texture, Let me know, what do you think this is? A machine like this, you can add strings or like tassels or things like that in the middle of your knitted fabric, and then it just stays there. So that's, every time I see something like this, I'm like, oh, I could knit something like that. And I never will, but I could if I wanted to really bad. And then for alaia, we have these, which I just thought were really beautiful, not knit at all. I mean, probably a knitted fabric, but not in the, I aspire to do this with my knitting machine kind of way. Does anyone here know how were they made? Is this a wiring or like what is it? I think it looks so cool. I think this is probably a wire. I don't know. I just thought it was really beautiful to look at. Same with this. I thought these peplums, these like very intense good days, were really nice to look at. I just brought it here because I thought it's pretty. Now brace yourselves because we got Ralph Lauren, Half Lauren, Halfin Lauren. I don't know how to say this, but Ralph Lauren. Ralph was like, girl, let me show you some knits. Let me show you some crochets. Let me show you. Okay, let me show it to you. So first we start really basic, just a nice little turtleneck. You know, I see a lot of value in basics. I wish I was a knit my basics kind of girly. Because every time I step here and start knitting something, I'm like, let's make something insane. And then I never wear the things that I make. So there's a lot of value in the basics. Make your basics. Okay, so this first one, I love. It's a nice little cardigan, okay? And a nice little crochet top. This, I genuinely think it's crochet. It's like a crochet top. If it's not, this can be replicated in crochet very easily. It looks like crochet. Look up for some flower tutorials and then do this in half double crochet. Little scalloped edge. Amazing. Beautiful. Now, let's talk about this cardigan. This is very interesting because if you look at the sleeves, this is a jute-like fabric. This is what jute looks like. So jute is like this, right? Often people use it for hats and bags. To me, if you look at the images, they genuinely look scratchy to me. But this, I looked at it for a long time. Originally, I thought, okay, they did a rib for the sleeves, and then for the body, they just did a larger tension, no rib. Fine. I looked closely, and the body doesn't actually look like jute. You see, like, the difference from the sleeves and the body. It doesn't look like it has these, like, little stringy bits. It just looks very plain, very smooth, you know? So I thought, okay, they just got a different yarn and made this in 2 different yarns. But then I saw other looks in this collection with this exact same knit, and I was taken aback. First of all, pretty. Okay, I love the skirt. I love the vest. The skirt looks a bit heavy. It's a little bit transparent. Something that started bothering me was like, why is this fabric so straight? So smooth. If you look at it, it looks like the yarn is quite flat, like as if it's a leather or plastic or something. But if you would knit with something that is flat, it turns around in itself. So it wouldn't look this straight if it's like a machine-made knit, or even if it's a handmade knit. And I was just looking at it, I was like, this is such a knit. It looks so much like a knit. How could it not be a knit? But it really isn't. I don't know what this is. I don't know how this is done. But look at the bottom of the skirt. If you knit, you know. This looks like an unraveled hem. Like they started it at the waist, they went all the way to the bottom, too big, and then they unraveled it. But obviously, this would not be the case, right? Like they wouldn't just send an unraveled skirt to the runway. Like it wouldn't just stay like this. So this is clearly like a fabric that mimics knit perfectly. I think this is really cool. Interesting. I really don't know because it's so knit-like. It must be knitted, but it just, at the same time, it just doesn't because it's all twisted. The bottom, the hem is so fake. It's not a cast off. It's not a cast on. It's just the loops. It's so strange. I think this is nice. And then we have this nice juxtaposition of lace. I think this is a knitted lace, but done in a machine. You probably could find something similar in a fabric shop. Look, juxtaposition of some nice lace, machine made, pretty. And then we have another version of a machine made lace, but this is a lot more geometric, so it's a lot more similar to something that I could do in my machine, for example. In this machine, you can use something like this. This is like a card, and you can punch holes into it, and it's like very binary. So the machine will pick it up, and the machine can change colors in between two colors. There's a different card that has a different kind of holes. What it does is that whenever there's a hole, the machine will pick up the yarn in that needle of that hole and take it to the next needle, so creating a hole in the garment. So it creates a lace like with these holes, because what this is a knitted garment, and there were holes done strategically in the garment, but purposefully to create the shapes. If you were to do it in a machine, like in a domestic machine, it would have to be with smaller needles for a thinner thread than my one. But it's really pretty. And then this one, I think this one's really cool. This to me seems like a patchwork. It's meant to look like it's a patchwork of jumpers, as if they went to like a thrift shop or had like past collections, and then they cut specific parts and put them together. So there's a sleeve of one type of knit, and then the body has another type, and then there's this like random doily here in the sleeve, and there's other doilies here in the other sleeve. It's quite asymmetrical, it's quite like disjointed, but in the way that it looks very cohesive. It just looks very angelic, very like coquette. I think it's cute. To me, as someone who likes to look at other knits as inspiration, it inspires me to like go out and thrift some knitted cardigans or jumpers in similar shades and kind of mismatch them together and join them. But this was manufactured like this. So they sat down and looked at samples of knits and knit a bunch of samples and looked at which ones would look nice together and made this. And they can make multiple because they have the factories and everything. And let me know how you feel about it, how like this is meant to look like almost DIY, like you can just join a bunch of different cardigans and jumpers, but that's not actually what it is. I don't know. I like it. For me, it's just a form of creation, but I feel like there would be people who don't like this, would feel like tricked about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too much in the internet. And they have like a beach bag, tote bag, in a jute probably, and the polo is embroidered. I do also think this is handmade. It's a very thick yarn. It's a lot thicker than this. I just think it's fully hand done. Even the embroidery, I think it's hand stitched. I just don't see machinery doing this. It's quite thick, quite sturdy, but I could always be proved wrong. Okay, I was so happy. I saw this and I think I genuinely gasped. This is Irish lace crochet. And if you've been subscribed to my channel, you know I've spent over a month working on a Irish lace crochet jacket. You can see like there are lots of flowers, lots of different little shapes. They are crocheted, and they're crocheted in a very tiny needle, very tiny hook. They place them in the pattern, and then they will come in with a crochet hook and crochet this mesh to join them together and make the full pieces, and then join the pieces and make the garment. And that is a lot of work. And I'm pretty sure this is actual Irish lace crochet. I don't see this one, look here, this one, I don't see it being machine made. I really don't. I really truly think this is Irish lace crochet done by some artisans, by the Ralph Lauren team. Here I have some more close-ups. You can see the mesh is imperfect, which is good because it implies that a human being made it. There are two different kinds of feelings. So there's the more mesh looking traditional one, and there's the more freestyle one. Seems to me like it's just the chain stitches that you do to do an Irish lace crochet garment, and this is so huge. This is a full body piece. A lot of people like to use this technique to do wedding gowns, and I think this is so beautiful. Every so often someone will comment in my Irish lace crochet videos saying that they did their wedding gowns like this, or they plan on doing it, and I think it's so nice. If I ever get married, because like I'm chronically single, but if I wasn't chronically single and I ever got married, I think it would be really nice to make a Irish lace crochet dress. It's so nice that this technique is kind of coming back. I really hope that the artisans who did this were fairly compensated. Some pieces, if this is actual Irish lace crochet, which I think it is, they are more for the runway. They might not even be sold in stores. They just might be just made for the runway sometimes, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm never really sure of how these things work. And then we have a bit more crochet. So crochet top in my opinion is crochet. And then this is a little machine made shorts. This for me looks like it's hand crocheted. This to me looks like it's machine knitted. I just don't know if this is actual crochet or another kind of machine knitted that looks like crochet, but I think it's hand crocheted. Actually, this is very doable in a machine like this. I made a few rows with this brown just so that I can hold the weight here. And now I will bring all the needles forward again, and I will cast on again with the actual yarn that I want to use for this project. So I'm casting on, and now I will just do one row, and I will press the hold button right here in my machine. So let me think about it. I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all of these needles that I'm pushing forward, they will not be knitted in the next row. See? And now I can push another one forward. Like so. And now one more. Very gentle. And now I will unpress this button. I will bring the rest forward. And this created a very slight scallop edge here. I did a very slight one because I wasn't really thinking about it. But you can make some way more pronounced scallops like the one in the sample. Now, I'll do a couple of rows. So this is just like plain rows. The first few rows in the bottom of the shorts, we have some like bigger holes. And how I want to approach that is to make a hole with 2 needles missing. So skip 2 needles here, 2 needles here. Let's just do these 3, okay? I'll do 1 stitch, and I'll bring 1 of each forward, and then I'll bring the other one forward. And this creates that big hole with like a little yarn in the middle. Theirs is asymmetrical, so I'll do another one right around here. Pardon the asymmetry. I know it'll bother some people. 1, and then bring, what did I do? These ones first, right? This one forward. Boom. The other one forward. You can bring it all the way forward so it's easier. Let's go. Another hole. And then I could keep going for, oh, let's just do another one. And then 1, 2, 3. There we have it. Those bigger holes. And then we can do teeny tiny holes. So if we do like 1 every, let's do every 2. So 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And for the holes to be quite small, you actually have to bring the needles forward immediately. So no roll without the needles forward. So now, see, we created some cute little holes. And now I can like mismatch them. Two. And then you can bring them all forward. And 1, 2, 3. And you can keep doing that. Something that you can also do, you can create a little pattern like this. So you can, for example, let's do a V shape. I can, for example, start here and create one little hole. And then I'll go to the side and create 2 little holes right next to them, symmetrically. Like so. And then I'll skip another one. And then I could start another one here, for example, while still making this one. Like so. And I could keep going forever, and this is like a pattern. So there are tuck carriages that have patterns, and you can see like here in the carriage it has the tuck right here. Can you see the tuck? And this is the one that I would use to make that. I'm not good with those cards, so I don't use it, but it creates something like this. So it would transfer the yarn from one needle to the one in the side. There, like the mechanisms in the carriage can do that. This is it. And then you can go, and then I'll cast it off. And you can see that I will iron it so that you can see it better, but it creates that scallop. This one's really tiny. You can make some more pronounced ones. Look, I think it's so cute, so dainty. Looking at these made me want to make shorts like this. To me, they look a lot like bloomers. Bloomers have been in for a little while. They're just those like little shorts that are very fluffy. And I think they're really cute. I just don't see them working with my body type. But these to me are very reminiscent of those bloomers because they're lacy, they're detailed, but they're not bloomers. They don't have that ruffle to it. So maybe I would like to make little shorts like this. Now obviously you can make something like this hand knitted or even crochet. I think it would be easier to crochet something like this. I'm just really bad with hand knitting. But yeah, it looks really pretty. You can make your own designs with the little holes, and it's very lacy looking, but it's just little holes. And I like to see the contrast between the crochet, or what I perceive to be crochet, and the knit. And I just have here the different kinds, different ways that Ralph Lauren used these textiles that are all fiber related. Oh, I forgot, this is actually a machine made lace trim, so it's not even a knit. This is another kind of thing. So lots of things. Ralph Lauren was really into the fiber arts here, but not all of it is like fiber arts. You got what I mean. And then I told you Ralph Lauren was in it. He was in it. Look at this. First of all, I saw this and I was like, oh my god, this is so like siren coated. Last year people were really into mermaid siren. This reminded me of that because it's all pearls. So I think this is a fabric that is done with beads, and then there's a layer of a beaded mesh, and that would have to be done by hand. And then there are these disjointed little beaded strings thrown in the side here. I don't often like when yarn or strings are just like randomly thrown in there, like in the piece of garment. But I think this looks really good. I think this looks purposeful, even if they just got these strings of bead and just kind of zhuzhed them around. I like how it looks. This to me is so pretty. This is probably like fully handmade. I think so. I don't know that many machines. I don't know any machines, but I don't think machines are really good with beads. Whenever something is beaded, I usually think it's handmade, or a lot of it is handmade, hand beaded. And then we have this other look, which you're looking at it and you're like, what's knit about that? Nothing. This is fully like a very flowy fabric little suit thing, but look at that. So nice. Such a nice detail. And this to me is like very DIY-able in the best way possible. Like I do that sometimes, but I really don't like when DIY is used in a bad way. Like, oh, this looks so DIY. Refer to like high fashion. It's probably not a compliment. We don't usually relate DIY, like doing it yourself, with high fashion. But I think that's wrong, because high fashion, like things that are very, very expensive, because there were hours and hours of work put into that, they're all handmade. They're all made by people. It's just that these people are usually a lot skilled. And when you say DIY, it's mostly like, oh, I just whipped that out. Like I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did it. So I get it. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, but DIY is good because you did it yourself and you're good. You're crafty. You're good. You have that power in your hands. But yeah, this is a collar, like a little Peter Pan collar made with the beads. This is handmade. This is hand beaded. We should make something like this. We could do something like this. I don't think it's that hard, honestly. I like it. They also had some just like USA logos. I don't know if these are overstitched or intarsia. My guess, it would be intarsia. Stitches in the side here and then the bottom here don't look like my intarsias look. So I don't know if they're a different kind of intarsia, if they're a different machine, if they're handmade, because they could be handmade. The stars are all embroidered. They're embroidered over. They're not knit. They look really perfect and they're really tiny. That's how you know that they're not knit. You really couldn't do a star looking like a star like this in such a small space in this knit. Another little short. We know them. We love them. I was really, really happy with Ralph Lauren this season. Okay, this video could just be Ralph Lauren. It would be actually better because no one's gonna watch this like 2-hour long video. But anyway, you might be looking at this and thinking, okay, nothing that special, it's just like a slip dress, looks like Skims. Well, no. Can you see this? I hope you can. This is all beaded. I think this is hand beaded. I don't know. Please, if you know of machinery that does beads, let me know, because I truly think this is all hand beaded. Whenever I say that there are imperfections, I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean it in a good way, that when machine does fabric, it often looks perfect because it's a machine. When people hands make something, it will look imperfect because it's just hands doing something, you know. This looks amazing, and I truly think this is all hand beaded, which is insane. Because this is a full-length gown. It's a full-length dress, and it's probably really heavy, and it looks amazing. There's movement. Look at the movement, and it's heavy, so it moves like this. I really hope the artisans were well compensated. And then we have just a cardigan. Nice, cozy for the winters, even though this is spring. I think it looks nice. I think we've seen a bunch of these, and this one bothers me. I have a problem with this one. So this one's a patchwork of a bunch of different types of fabric. It's not just knit. The sleeves are fully knit, and then there's a little bit of jeans. And what bothers me about this is that they decided that it would be a good idea to make this bit. I always forget how it's called. but the part of the cardigan that has the buttons on it, out of knit. When they are doing a cardigan that it's not fully knit, so it's probably heavy, and they're already using other fabrics. They're using just plain fabrics. They're using jeans. I think there's a corduroy somewhere. They're using heavy, sturdy fabrics. They're even using jean buttons, like buttons that you usually see in jean wear. Why would they make the part of the cardigan that gets the most wear out of, which is the part that has the buttons that you're literally always buttoning in, buttoning out, buttoning out, putting pressure and putting action in that like little slit of the buttonhole? Why would you do that in the most fragile of the fabrics that you're using? There are a bunch of different fabrics. Why would they do the fragile part in the fragile fabric? Because the knits will start to slowly just be worn out and they will start stretching. There will be a point that this jacket will not be able to be buttoned because the buttonhole will be so enlarged that it will not keep the button inside. And it just bothers me because it's probably not that cheap. So why would you do that? I've been praising this team a lot. They did good in the fiber arts, but not in this one. This one was a miss. Okay, hate. And then a little tie-dye, because why not? This is probably a white cable knit, and then they tie-dyed it with blue, yellow, and orange for some reason. R13, it's a brand. For these videos, I just go in the Vogue Runway app, and then I scroll through all of the brands, all of the looks, and look for the knits and crochets. So there are a lot of brands that are not really that big, but this is why I'm bringing them here, because they have like fun knits and you can maybe discover a brand that you like. So this is R13 and I don't like them. I don't like them because they're the kind of brand that distresses knits, and I hate when brands distress knit for fun. Why would I do that? I talked a lot about this in the other video that I did last year. There is a way of distressing knits in a way that, you know, it can give the look that you want, the distressed look that you want, but it's not actually distressing the fabric. It's a way that you can incorporate it in a machine, in the knit manually. You can wash it, you can wear it, and it won't distress more in a way that your garment will just no longer be. So they have these looks, little top, cardigan. So when I look at these holes, they could possibly be worked purposely in the garment. I don't think that's the case, but it could be. These ones are not. They just fully got a pair of scissors, got a little seam ripper, ripped the hole, and started distressing the knit. The thing about distressing knits purposefully is that they will never stop distressing. It's not like jeans that if you cut a little hole, you pick out the little fabrics, the fibers, it will stay like that, and it will slowly, very, very slowly open up a bit more and get a little bit distressed as the more you wear it. That's jeans, okay? You can do that. They rip and it's edgy, it's grunge. But for knits, they will very, very quickly lose their shape. This hole will just make the garment be no more. That's the thing about a knit. Like if you get this, get a pair of scissors and rip this, it will all start unraveling, the whole bit. And then it starts like spreading. The thing about knits is that it's one piece of yarn and it goes back and forth, back and forth. So once you rip it, it will start coming undone. And I just don't like it. I don't like it. And the thing about this is that I love this cardigan. I like the little patchwork, the little patches of it. It's probably embroidery. Looks so cute, looks so fun. Looks very like high school, I guess, like teenager, but I think it's cute. And then they purposely ripped it. I don't get it. I really don't. This one I'm intrigued by. I don't really know what this is because this is a knit. There's this design in it and I don't know what it is because it's not in Tarsia. And if you look at the inside, can you see the inside is white? For me, this looks like they had this piece and sent it to be digitally printed. I could be wrong. This is just what came into my mind when I looked at this. I was like, how is this printed? I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I thought. Egghouse Lacta. Nice, sturdy knit. Very compact, tensioned knit. I like how they shaped the armholes very much in the back, doing this like swimmer style cut with the rib. I think they're nice looking. I wouldn't be surprised if someone told me that this is hand knit, but I don't think it is. I think it's machine. Nice little, you know, cable knit-ish, where it looks very intricate. You can totally hand knit this. It's gonna take a long time. I'm not gonna be doing it, but if you're into hand knit, especially with a little bit of mohair in it, it's gonna look amazing. I think it looks really nice. Now, these are weird. I don't know what these are. I really don't. For me, these are like patchworked together. I keep saying patchworked, but like they are different pieces of clothing, different pieces of fabrics that were just joined in this like funky manner to make a different fabric. But they're all knits. Here, this color, it looks very weirdly stretched, like badly stretched, and I'm sorry, but every time I see a rib, something that's very purposely supposed to be a rib, not very ribby, not perfect, I think it was either handmade or made more manually, like in a domestic knitting machine like mine, because I know that I have such a hard time with ribs. Ribs are really hard for me, especially because I don't have a ribbing attachment. So it's very manual for me to do ribs. I don't know. It's just like, yeah, knit a garment. And then these, I think these are so sweet. A very open weave, so thicker needles for a thinner yarn. They probably use mohair. And it's pretty much like cropped cardigans, cropped sweaters with a little bit of a braid motif here and there, and then they got another color of yarn and either embroidered or crocheted on top of just one side of the braids. And I think it's so cute with this tension of yarn and with a black yarn. You usually wouldn't be able to really see the braids. Maybe this one more than this one, but these are very small, very tiny braids, so you might not be able to see them very well, but now you will see them well. And these are like 3-dimensional. So I think it's a very nice way to really show that 3-dimensionality of the braids. And I actually want to try to do something similar in the knitting machine. Let's do this. Alright, I have a small little sample. This is intention 5, which is quite a bit for this nothing of a yarn. And I'll try to do some braids now. I haven't practiced braids in quite a while, so I don't know how that's gonna go. I'll do a 3 stitch braid just because it's gonna be easier, I think. So it's probably not the same braid as they have in the design. So here and here, and I'm doing outside second. Okay. One, 2, is it in? Is it in? 3. Ooh, my yarn is dangling. Maybe I'll do a bigger one, because this is nothing. 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's see how it goes. Okay. And here. How many did I do? 8. 1, 2. I lost a stitch, didn't I? 3, 4, 5. I don't know what happened. I lost a stitch somewhere, but let's keep going. 8. One more. Let's go. Why you gonna be so mean? Choo-doo. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All in. Let's go. And I'll just bring these forward. And I'll cast it off. Embroidery really isn't my forte. So I tried to do a little crochet. So this is how it looks. I ironed it just to make it a little flat. This is very flimsy, like going in the last stitch and working a single crochet. What? Working a single crochet, trying to work a single crochet. Oh my god. Let's go. And I'm doing 2 in some of them. That was hard. Okay, I swapped for embroidery. I have double threaded and it's ugly. Like, clearly embroidery is not my good trade. But this is what I'm doing just for the look. Okay, this is gross. It's actually really bad. Okay, this is really ugly. I'm not even gonna continue this because, like, what the fuck. But you get the gist. They have, like, the braids and then they somehow embroider it, not in this way apparently. So this one's a fail. Okay, so I think this is a bit of a fail. I'm not gonna lie to you. So for me to do these braids, I do prefer keeping one needle before the braid, and that's just for the maneuvering of the braid in the machine. You tend to pull the needles too much when you do braids. In the inspiration one, we don't have that. So I would think this could even be like hand knitted, or maybe it's just machine. My embroidery looks really bad. I'm really bad at embroidery. It doesn't really look good, but this is the idea. This is the vibe, okay? And then we just have some basic knits. Something like this is really nice to do in the knitting machine if you have one. Very similar to the alaia outfits that we looked at. Plain knits. It's nice to work a little bit of pattern making if you want to learn how to, calculate the decreases and increases to make a pattern. I think it's a nice thing to do. I don't love this kind of waistband, but that is me personally. This is the kind of waistband that basically you just zhuzh a cord in between the weave of the knits, just like in between the natural holes, or sometimes you even make holes, and then you pull it. I just always prefer a waistband with an elastic, but I do see how some people would prefer this kind of waistband because there's an intrigue to it. The way that it ruffles with the yarn, creating this like very, very visible zigzagging of the fabric. I can see how people like that. I just would rather have an elastic here and also have the cord, but not necessarily as the thing that holds the pants. Because if you think about it, this tiny little yarn is holding the whole pant in place in the waist. Knitted pieces tend to be a little bit more heavy in weight, so this little string is supposed to just hold this heavy fabric in your pants while you walk around. I don't like to rely on those. Grace Ling, I'm back. You probably didn't notice that I was gone, but I had to go to my roller skating class. And then I took an anti-allergic. Okay, so for Grace Ling, I brought these 4 looks. The collection had way more looks, all in the same vibe. And I brought them here because I think it's really nice to look at these textures. These are knits, but they are machine-made knits. This is a lurex. Let me see. Sorry, I didn't come prepared. Look, you cannot see. It's just some transparent yarn with a little bit of sheen to it. This, you can clearly see the knitted texture. It has like a black tint to it, and it's made in stripes. This is very intriguing, and I actually think I could maybe try and make one of this. It's just that I'm kind of lazy right now, so I won't. But let me know if you'd like to see something done with the lurex. Working with this is really annoying. It will always fall from the machine. It's really nerve-wracking. So if you want to see me go insane, ask for a little something. We can come up with a project to do with a lurex. If you were to do something like these pieces in the machine, these parts here would be an intarsia done with the lurex. An intarsia, ooh, that would be so hard if it was manual, which I think could be done, but it would be just so hard. Khaite, I think that's how you say it, khaite. I love. Okay, I think this is really cool. Look at this artichoke looking little thing. Like, what is this? Because when I looked at it, I was like, I think it's crochet. I think it's crochet. I don't think you can find anything like this just to buy, like on a supplier or something like that. And I think it's really funny. It looks like an artichoke. When I was doing my Irish lace crochet, I did a bunch of these circles. And first of all, I have a tutorial for these circles if you want to do them for some reason. These look very much alike. The vibe is very similar, but I don't think they did it like this. These circles are really big, a lot bigger than these ones. And for the ones that look puffy like this, I couldn't make them really that big. They're kind of small. So I really don't know how this would be worked, like how to do these. The around bit looks like double crochet chain, double crochet chain, something like that. Really pretty. And then we have also this knit. So this knit is basic, straight knit. But if you look closely, you can see, especially in this top. First of all, the yarn used here is a flat yarn. The flat yarns, they turn on themselves. This is what I'm talking about. So this, looking at it, even if I didn't look at the pants, if you just look at the top, you can see that this is a flat yarn that twists around itself. And what I think it's so fun about this is that this is all one yarn. And then here, the tension is very much compact. Here is a knit, a very loose knit. The number of tension is high, so the tension is very loose. It's a very loose tension. And then here, the tension's very intense. So the knit is more compact. And then it opens again. I don't think they change yarn in the middle here. And then when you look at the pants, so I actually usually really hate when crochet and knit is done and people don't cut or don't weave in and cut the loose threads. Here, I don't like it. It's not a look that I think is pretty. I just think it's lazy. I think you can say it's a style. You can say that it's your aesthetic, but it will crumple, that it will tangle in the washing machine, and it's just impractical. I think it's lazy. I don't like it. You know, sometimes you can have like tassels or fringe. Obviously, that I think is okay because it's done in quantity. When it's like a little yarn here and there, clearly when you changed color because you wanted a different color, I don't like it. I don't think it's beautiful. But the good thing about these ugly loose threads in this pants is that we can see what yarn this is. And this, to me, in these photos, look like jersey yarn. I don't know how to say that, and I don't have any with me. I think there are some places that they cut up jersey fabric. They cut it into strips. So now you have yarn made from jersey. Usually they're a bit thick. This seems to be that kind of yarn, which is made from fabric. So it's flat because it was a fabric and then it's cut into strips. And then knitted. I think it's knitted in some sort of knitting machine. The same way that there are machines like mine that are for thinner yarn. There are machines like this that are for thicker yarn. I don't know how this could be done by hand because monitoring your own tension from your hands is really hard. I would have to try and do that with a different size of hook. And even so, I don't think I just think it would be really hard to replicate this kind of changing of tension with just your needles and your hand, I think, but you can totally tell me if I'm wrong. But yeah, let me just show you how I would do this in my knitting machine. So I don't have that exact jersey like yarn, but I have this one that is flat. Can you see? Like it didn't even pick up. Okay, here. See, it's very flat. Flat is not on a round, so this is what I'm gonna use to demonstrate that. Let's do 30. Okay, here. See how it turns in itself, and it really looks, oh my god, you're not seeing actually. See how like it turns in itself, and you can clearly see that it's turning because it's not round, it's flat. And now I will actually start with the largest tension that I could possibly start at, which is tension 10. There you go. Bring them forward. And loose tension is kind of, it's not hard, but it's just finicky in the machine because you have to pay very close attention because you really need to have either the needles forward or a lot of weight here. There we go. And now I can just see this is quite a loose weave, right? And now I will go straight from 10, which is the largest tension that I can, and I'll go very low. I think a 3 I'm still able to do. You have to be careful with very small tensions because some yarns will not be able to knit because they're too thick for that tension. Actually, I'll try it too because this is quite a thin yarn. See if it works. So I want to have this dramatic change. Okay, see, this one didn't pick up because the needle is kind of damaged, and because I'm using such a small tension, I just have to be very careful. I'll even take the needles forward to help. It's knitting. Okay, so here this one didn't pick up either. I just have to be pulling it. Look, I told you. Sometimes it just doesn't pick up. See, because this yarn is like, it's not that small and it's a very small tension, the yarn snapped because it was just too much tension, okay? It didn't handle it. I will continue going just because this is like a demonstration, but the right thing to do would be to go back a few rows and kind of restart. Now let's just go back to tension 10. And now I'll cast it off. Look, I think it's really cool. And even if you just look at this tiny little sample, you can see that like the shape can easily just be replicated. I think this is like a very big rectangle starting on the big tension here, making it smaller, making it bigger, making a hole here for the head, and making the same for the back. So it's a big rectangle, circle in the middle, and then you fold it, and then you stitch the sides, and then this bigger part, the part of the bigger tension, would just droop here on the shoulders, and this like the tense part would cinch in the waist. And I think this is so cool. If you have a machine, like do that or something. I might do that because it's like kind of cool. It's not kind of cool, it's really cool and it looks nice. It's a very interesting shape, And technically it's very easy in a way that I'm thinking it's very easy to do if you have a knitting machine. And the pants, they're alright. I like the texture here. I don't like the yarn falling, but I like that I have yarn falling because I can see what kind of yarn this is. Let me know if you're liking the video, which one was your favorite so far. So next, still in kite, we have the black version. Black in knit is always so, because you cannot really see the texture. These and these are the same, but you cannot really tell the detail of it in the black. But I get it, a lot of people like black. It's easy to dress. I think this mesh, the mesh for the skirt, is just like they got these yarns that they have and they just kind of tied it in this mesh because it looks very disjointed. And then they added these, either these are pom-poms or a crocheted circle, like an amigurumi, something like that. I don't like this, but I love it. In this one, you can see it's thicker than these ones. Like here you can see a lot more the skin in between the knit, and here much less. I was thinking that maybe these are all the same pattern, all the same thing, but this is done with the black and white together. So it's not one yarn that is black and white, it's two yarns black and white knitted together. And then the pom-poms. See, when I look at these pom-poms, they do look, in my opinion, like crochet. I have never done amigurumi, but you know how they crochet balls for the heads of the things that they're working on. Yeah, I think it's cool. But at the same time, I'm like, could you have done something a little bit more neater that more people would want to wear? But maybe that's not what they're all about. Maybe they're just telling their story. So PH5. Let's go. So, this brand is quite interesting. They are a knitwear brand. They do knits, but it's not hand knit. It's the machinery knit. These kinds of things, shapes, the structure, the print itself, I don't really think you can do that in like a more large scale commercial knitting machine. Again, I don't know. I'm just saying. You can correct me if you know that I'm wrong. And it's a machine that is a lot more, what's the word that I want to use? It's a lot less just mechanic. It has a lot more technology into it, but it still requires like a technician that is a knitwear designer. I think from the surface level knowledge that I have that would be the case, and that this brand PH5 kind of works with this kind of technology where they are really in the machine and exploring the capabilities of the machine. Shapes like this squiggle are kind of hard to do in it. You can't really just make a fabric and cut it like you do with a normal fabric that you would buy at the fabric shop or at a big supplier. You cannot really cut knit because it unravels. I think these designs are all really interesting, the way that they're made to the piece. So they're created to make the pattern of this piece of clothing. And usually that's not how we do it. That's usually we buy a fabric and then we morph it into the garment that we want. So I think this is really interesting. What I don't like are the crochet bits that they added. I don't want to talk too badly about these crochet pieces that they have because, you know, what I said in the beginning of this video, I think it's nice. I think it's inspiring to see things that you know that you can do on the runway. But yeah, I don't like them bags. It's not even that they were poorly done. The crochet looks fine. It doesn't look like they skipped stitches or anything. I would bet this is a raffia. I don't even know how to explain raffia. It looks like paper. It's a thread. I bought some raffia. Looks like a piece of paper. Looks like straw, but it's yarn, and this is actually viscose. It is not just like paper. I can't really tear it apart or anything like this. I mean, I can, but it's harder. And it is used in hats and bags because it's a little bit water resistant. So there is a way to make a raffia pretty in bags, in hats, and they didn't do it. I don't think this is pretty. I think it looks ugly. And it's tough because I don't think it was badly done. I don't think the people who made it poorly. I think they probably are very good crocheters. But I just don't like how it looks. It looks very DIY, which I don't think is a bad thing. I don't think, like, I make things that are DIY and I think they're really pretty. Everything here, everything that we've been talking about, in one way or another, is handmade. Everything to an extent is made by hand. Yeah, like, I'm in this, like, crossroads. I don't like these bags. I think they are ugly. They are not made in a way that looks pretty, and maybe this is just my style. Let me know what you think about these bags. I think they're really ugly, and I think, especially for a knitwear brand, I think they could have done something prettier that makes people really want to buy it, because I don't think that many people would like to buy it, because you look at it and you're like, I know someone that could do that for me. They might charge more or less, and that's conversation, but I don't know. I just don't like it. And I think it's nice that they have a crochet item here to give texture to the look and blah blah blah, but I just don't like it. I know I talked so much about it. These here, they're all, this machinery that we talked about. This top here looks a lot more like something that I could do in this machine. Very similar to what I did a couple of designs ago with this lace. This looks something like I could totally do, could totally be done in a knitting machine, also by hand with a lot of time and patience. But these ones look a lot more like a different kind of machine that I have no idea what it is. Look. But I love this texture. I think it's really, really pretty. Yeah. See, like, I just don't think they're pretty. I'm sorry. And here, like, raffia, you saw it's kind of, it's stuff. It's stuff. But I've seen designs by high fashion brands done in raffia that look really nice. And I might be thinking of remaking one of those. That might be the reason why I bought the raffia. So I don't know, maybe test out some different stitches. Maybe I'm just annoyed. Maybe I'm tired and I'm wrong. Maybe they look alright. It's just not my preference. Nanushka. This is so artisanal. I do not think you could do something like this in a industrial level. This is so artisanal. This is so, like, I want to explore machine. And I say that because I have personally done, not a top, a jumper with this kind of technique. And I've done another jumper with this kind of technique. And I was so happy when I saw these looks because I was like, oh my god, I'm fashion! The pattern is quite simple. I think it would be probably a machine that's more advanced than mine because of the plain part of the top. It has this texture which to me looks like increases in tension in the middle of one roll, which is not usually something that happens. I mean, it can happen if your machine is broken, but I don't know a way to do that easily in my machine. I can think about a way of doing it very manually, very slowly. You could always do it for sake of art, but it looks nice. Like, it looks very interesting. The texture looks interesting. But I don't think the way that I am thinking of doing it in a domestic machine is viable. It's really interesting. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's do this in my machine so that you can understand. Okay, so this one I'm very excited for. So first thing that I'm going to do before starting to cast on or anything, I'm going to make little bundles with the yarn that I'm going to use. So like this, like little bundles, and I'm going to do a few of these. Okay, I have my little bundle. Now I will start over here. So first I'll cast on, I'll cast on 40 and I will make a hem. I have 10 rows in tension 4, 1 row in tension 10, and then 11 rows in tension 4 so that I can fold it and create a little hem. That's what I'm gonna do right now with a transfer tool, and I just pick it up in the very bottom like this and place it like this, folding it and making a cute, sturdy, beautiful hem. Cute, see? And now I'll just do a few more rows, just a couple. Okay, and now I will place my little thingies in alternating needles. So I'll do one here, then I'll skip two or three, two, and then I'll do another one, or skip three. Here, skip 3, like so. This is it, and then I have all the needles forward with the little thingies, little tassels, and I secured them. Now they will move if you try to move them. So if I was to do a piece with this, I would tie knots. I actually did one piece with this technique. I'll link it here somewhere. And I did tie knots in every single one of the tassels for security, for like when I washed it and such. But unless you pull them, they will stay. Now and this is the bottom part, and then the next thing is like the little things that come out of it. Those are like short row little squares. I think theirs is a lot closer to the bottom, but I'm just doing it now. So what I'm doing is, in my carriage there's this button here. It's the hold button. Can you see this one? It's a lever, and I'm leaving it in this thing. I'm putting it on hold, and what this does is that all needles that are in this position forward, they won't be knit. So I can make a little square with like 1, 2, 3, 8, like this. None of these needles will knit, only this one's. Look. And then I can just kind of hold it. Ooh, see? Like I pulled it here and it kind of screwed it up. So this is why I would do the knots if this was a piece for, I don't know, to wear or to sell. I'll do a few more. Wait. Okay, I think this is enough. Now, here I have one issue. Okay, so now I kind of have to secure these things. So I have to make it like this. I could just hold these here, but then this little thing would go to the other side of the fabric, which would be the right side. But I have these tassels in the wrong side. So this is now the right side of my fabric. So in the domestic machine, I have to bring this forward and place it like this, which means that I have to take out these stitches and pick them back up. So pick them up, and then I come here where I started these rows, and I'll kind of
just try and get one. It's not really straight, but it'll have to do. And I'll place them here. And now, like this. I'm trying to grab them. Like so. Ah! No! I lost one. Okay, I lost some stitches, but I just picked them back up. And then I have these two. And I'll just get these middle ones here. Now I'm just doing this to show, so it's not perfect. But it's just to show how this could be done. Should I do another one? I don't want to. I'll do another one, say here, but I'll do it with 6. So my yarn is right here. I don't know why, because it should be, it should be there. I will take the yarn all the way here. Yay. And now I will do the 2 or 3, the thing here as well. The short rows here. Alright, now I will pick it up. And I'll just bring the carriage here, finish the row. I lost a stitch. And now I will just click back in knit. And now it will knit all of this rows. And this is it. Now I will iron it and it will look a lot better. But there's that thing of like mine is in the wrong side and theirs is in the right side. So it's not as, it looks a lot different than hers, but this is the general gist. And then they have these rows with like different tensions. And I don't know how they're done. How I would do it is with the hold as well. So pressing the hold, I would kind of do rows in like by parts. So for example, I knit this in tension 4, and then I come back and then I change the tension to like, I don't know, tension 8, and then I knit a few stitches, and then I go back and then I do tension 4 again and do the rest of the row. And then, I don't know, I'll do 2 normal rows. Oop. I have to put it. And then I could do that again with the hold. Can you see it? Like here and here. But I don't know if this is the way to do it or if there's another way to do it, because this is so time consuming for an effect that, I don't know, here is very underwhelming in my opinion. But this is how I would interpret it. Let's iron it so that you can see it better.
See, here we go. For me, I had to do it all in the wrong side of the fabric, so the purl side. The side that you're looking at when you're knitting is usually the back side, the traditional back side of the knit. And because I added the tassels facing me, this has to be the front part. And then to do these things, these little, I don't know how to call them, I had to do them on the wrong side as well. It would be a lot easier for me to have done them facing this way. And in theirs, you can see that this is the right side of the fabric. This is facing the right side because the here you first of all you can just see the knit side, but you can also see it. They curl inwards, so the fabric rolls it to the inside of this three-dimensionality, which means that you're looking at the right side and it curls towards the wrong side because that's how the knit works. You can see, like, I tried to do that tension thing. That is how I was thinking, to do the hold, larger tension, hold, smaller tension. And in my case, it's the effect is really lackluster. It's really minimal. I could never justify the time that it takes to make this. It doesn't look even that nice. It's okay, but you just could mistake this for a problem in the tension in the machine. So I don't think they did it like this. They probably have a machine that is more advanced than mine and has a few extra tweaks that would allow you to do these kinds of different textures that I just am not well versed with. But I love this. I love this so much. I was so happy when I saw it. And then they also have these other designs. This is just plain knit with a flat yarn that we talked about, because you can see it twists a lot. And then they had added these leather looking tassels. They just tied it to the sleeve holes, but there's a little oomph to it. I think it's nice. And this is not knit or crochet, but I think it's really nice because it's just like a stitch on around the top. And this is something that you could do to spice up something, like, oh, you have a little top, you never wear it, maybe do a stitch because it looks pretty like that. Oh, this is filet crochet. I do not know if filet crochet is something that can be done by some sort of machine. I know that you cannot do filet crochet in a machine, but you might be able to do a similar kind of effect in a knitting machine. So this is why I'm like, maybe this is some sort of machine. But because I saw the first two looks, I would think that maybe this is just a filet crochet garment. And you don't know what filet crochet is basically making a design in crochet by making a mesh and a design in filled stitches. I have never done it myself. I would really like to do a little project with it. So stay tuned, because a few filet crochets in this overall fashion season. So I might be trying to learn some and bring it here. You can look it up if you like this kind of style, this kind of subtle drawing in crochet. It's really pretty. Let's talk about Carolina Herrera. I will tell you, I gasped when I saw this. It's not just because it's like a cute little A-line dress done in crochet. These are crochet flowers, and then the whites are little circles. I do think this is crochet. I don't like the color. I will be very, very honest. I would rather it be just one color, and I'll talk about it in just a second. They have the long version. The reason why I gasped when I saw this was because my mother, if you guys know, my mother crochets. She picked up crochet recently. She used to crochet back in the day, then she picked it up in the past few months, and she is really good. And I think over a month ago, she started on a very delicate, very luxury project for herself. She's doing a dress in flowers, crochet flowers with a little center. Hers doesn't have these extra little balls around it. The only thing I've been talking to my mom. Oh my god, I just looked at I forgot about that one. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but behind you, I have a wall full of my knitted samples, and I have another. Let me just grab it, just to show you the nanushka. Oh my god, the nanushka design. The one was the nanushka, I think was the one that we just saw. See how it's very different these thing done in the right side of the fabric and done on the back side, because this is a lot more, it is easier, it's more stable, and you can see that the fabric folds to the inside of, I don't know what we can call these, but it folds towards the inside because this is the right side of the fabric, so it rolls in. This is what I was talking about, and you can see that in the photos of the nanushka design. I forgot I had this in my, oh my god. But I'm sorry, I was talking about this because my mom is doing a dress, and I've been talking to her and I've been listening about this dress and all of the trials and tribulations of this dress, because it's hard. It's very time consuming. Obviously my mom can only do it after work or doing some meetings, but it's her passion project at the moment, and I've been just so excited to see her finish it. I was like, oh my god, my mom is so trendy. Like, she's so in with the times because she's doing something. And then there's something really, really, really similar on the runway in New York Fashion Week. This is fun. I think it's so cool. And this is what I was talking about when I talk about like inspiration and things that you can do. Like, you can look at something like this and be like, I kind of want this. I can make it. And you can. It will take time, but you can do it. This is really nice. I like the scalloped edge in the white. I don't like this pattern for the flowers and the middles. I mean, that's a lie. I think it looks really pretty here. The flowers with the little circles and the scalloped edge for the hems. This one is perfect, but I don't like this. They made this fabric, so they could have made it better. This is really ugly and it calls too much attention. It screams, look at the back of this fabric, because it's a blob of black when everything else is white and black, and they're so contrasting. So if the whole dress was black, you wouldn't be able to see this. If the whole dress was white, you wouldn't be able to see this. But because it's black and white, obviously there's a zipper here. And to reach the zipper, they reached it with the flowers. It's kind of logical because the flowers have more space to attach to the zipper. But it's just more surface area that they have with the flowers than they would have with the little circles. But it looks ugly. They really did need to finish one side of the zipper with the little circles and the other side with the flowers, so that it looks a lot seamless. Like, a zipper is necessary in a piece that is tight fitting and you need to put it on your body. You have to open it and close it. But it's a tool. It's a tool to get the piece of clothing on you. It's not, especially in this piece, it's not something that you need to show. It's not something that you want to show. It's just something that it has a purpose, so it needs to be there, a zipper. So you really shouldn't be highlighting it. And by having all of the rows, all of this in black without the white where it should be, it's really highlighting the zipper. For me, it looks like a mistake. It's an eyesore, in my opinion, for this look. I think this look really needed the rest of these circles to look like it needs to look, like to look right. But let me know if you actually like this lack of white just here, because maybe it's a tasting. I like this I like everything about it except for this zipper. Ulla Johnson. Now, when I reached Ulla Johnson in the Vogue runway app, I was like, but I was kind of disappointed. Not because the collection was bad, the collection was quite alright, but last year, if you look at the videos that I made for New York last year, Ulla Johnson, I think I spent like 20 minutes talking about just Ulla Johnson. The brand had so many crochet pieces. They had granny squares. They had knits with beads on it. So it was really fun to look at. And this year, we really don't have that much. So first we have some whites. And this one I just put here because I think it looks pretty, but it's not a knit. But this is a crochet actually. I'm pretty sure it's hand crocheted because she had so many crochet items in the last season. I think she probably has a few artisans that are, you know, manual workers with yarn and things like that. This is crochet. You can see by how this changes direction. Here. I don't know, for me this is just very clearly a crochet. When I look at the bottom bit, this, I'm like, is it? Every time that I see a mesh, I'm like, is it crochet? Or is it just machinery, like industrially done fabric? For machines, it's really rare that they will like go around. Like the stitches, if you look at it, the stitches, they go around like this. They do a V here, and they do this thing here, and then they go around. There's these increases and decreases, and they're quite well done. And then we have the gold version. I think these are all crochet. And actually, when I look at this, I genuinely think these garments, these gowns, were crocheted in black and then spray painted with this gold. I really don't think this is a gold yarn. There is this black hue. It almost looks like the background is black. And if you have a yarn that is like gold on one side and black on the other for some reason, you would never be able to get it to just face right all the time. They knitted all of the pieces and then they spray painted it gold. I don't know if I don't like realistically I'm like, this is probably not what happened. But I just keep looking at it. I just keep thinking that this is what it is. But these are crochet pieces and I think they look really nice. And here is the same as the white in the last models. So it goes around and in and around, and then they go here in this, you know, zigzag. And obviously also like this zigzag, it starts really small and opens really big. And for these would be, you know, they would do the flowers and then this very intricate design with the crochet, and then just add the flowers. Imagine just doing something like this. Imagine crocheting a gown. It's just really beautiful. Who decides war? They decided war with me. So this is interesting. Kind of hate it, but it is very interesting. It looks a lot like the look from Ralph Lauren, the one that I said was patchwork, like a bunch of sweaters together. It looks a lot like that, same color scheme and everything. It's just on the Ralph Lauren one we saw, it looked a lot like they took the full pattern pieces from other cardigans and placed them together. And for this, looks like they stripped a bunch of sweaters, cardigans, whatever, and then just stitched them together. And they probably actually stitched it like on a sewing machine so that they would stop everything from fraying, because that's always something you can do. You can just cut a knit and then just go in with a sewing machine and stitch so it will stay and not fray. So this could be what they do, especially because this is such thick knits, so you wouldn't really be able to see a small stitch being done here. From a lot of the things that we saw, this is very wearable. It just is in a like edgy way. It's fun, it has a lot of texture. The collar makes it very easy to wear. I like it, but I don't like some things like the fraying. This here isn't reveling, but this looks kind of very purposefully done. And the distress is very minimal. It's just the fact that they cut a bunch of knits that hurts me a little bit. But the distress is only here on the collar mostly. And obviously like in between each layer, but they are very contained. So this one looks, you know, it's distressed, it's disheveled, but I understand it. And I can agree with it. I really can. Todd Snyder. Let me say something. Todd Snyder is a menswear brand, and if you like basic knit, you enjoy knitting, and you want some inspiration, it's always really nice to look into menswear, because a lot of menswear brands, they won't really go too much outside of a suit, pants, a top, and a blazer, the normal menswear. And how they spice it up is usually by adding a knit. So they will make some intriguing knits that are not too out there. They're not too wild. They just have that little something that creates intrigue, that makes it different. It's not just the colors, that little texture element that is, it's just pretty. It's just something that you can do with knit. It's not too much. If you were to buy it, it's a little something different for your wardrobe. Nothing insane, something that you can wear on a day-to-day. That's a little different, and I see that more often in menswear brands, especially for like jumpers and cardigans. That's what we're gonna see a lot here with Todd Snyder. First, we have, what do we have? Actually, I do think this is a bit of a crochet. So for this one, the actual fabric to me kind of looks a little bit like crochet. I don't think it is crochet, I think it's a knit, but I know that the color here is a crochet. I like these texture. It's very similar to this one that we saw a couple of times already. The little holes, I think it looks nice, interesting, intriguing, and it has a change of colors. It's nice. Nice little braid, a cable knit. And honestly, for this one, to me it looks a little bit hand knitted. I generally don't think it is, but it looks so hand knitted. Like, it's a nice cable knit in cream. You can totally do something like this. The rolled hem of the knit, because knit naturally rolls in, and I know that a lot of people like it. I'm not one of these people. I just like a hem. I like a good folded over hem to just have a nice straight edge there at the bottom and on the top. But I know a lot of people like the rolled hem. They think it's really pretty. It is characteristic. It is part of the knit. This one I will not fight about. It's something that is not my style, but it is pretty, and I see beauty in it. It's just not something that I like to use in my design. But it has a rolled hem here. Yeah, it's a nice little cable knit. Okay, this one's really nice. I often see these little squares. I think they are knit pearl, and I don't know, this just really does look hand knitted. Again, probably not. It just looks like something that is so hand knitted. There's something that I have to complain about this look. What the fuck is this? Can you see it? I know that I'm like analytically looking at this knit, but you cannot send something on the runway with a fucked up stitch right in the center. Like, if it was down to the side, like in the bottom, like here in the side seam, whatever. But it's right in the middle, like it's in the dead center of the sweater. It's right here. It's very, very visible, even if this is a more skin-colored outfit. But it's not at a level where you wouldn't see this clear. I don't know what it is. Is it not? Was it a problem with the yarn? Was it a problem with the technique? I don't know, but it's ugly. Shouldn't be there. Now this is fun. So these, I call them leathers because it's like a little leather. I don't know how other people call it, but basically you just skip a stitch, and you always skip the same stitch. In a machine like this, you skip a needle, so you have all your needles, and then you skip one, and it creates that hole forever. Let me just show you what I'm talking about.
Okay, so to achieve this effect in a knitting machine is quite simple. If you look at the photo, the gaps are every 9 stitches. 9. And then I will skip 2. I think 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Skip 2. I think 2 is kind of comparable to the gap that they have there. It could be a little bit bigger, but I don't like to make gaps way too big. I'm just using these 2 yarns. So cast on. I'll just use a good tension, like a 7. I think it's a good middle of the road. The comb. Ah, that was so hard. I missed a stitch. Missed one stitch over here. Let me fix that. I think it's going to work. Yes. I think I need to oil my machine a little bit. I'll do that in a second. And as you can see, I'm using 2 different colors of yarn. And they kind of change by themselves. They are going through the machine and they twist in between themselves and they form these color changes. Now I'll cast off. And they do get a little smaller, so you know, you have to test to see if this is a good enough gap or if you want it bigger or smaller.
So you have your knits and then you have your leather and then you have your knits and your leather. It never changes, so it's always like very consistent. I'm pretty sure this could be done machinery. It's probably just a setting in the machine. You press a button and then it does this because it's just keeping a needle. And you can hand knit this. I don't know how, because I call these leathers. I don't know if it's the actual term because it looks like a little stubby liner. But yeah, I think this is really nice. A really interesting thing to use as like a design element on a simple piece. Oh, this is the wrong side. This is the right side. I love it. This is, you know, just a plain knit with a special stitch. The stitch is not the simple one. It's a little different. I don't know what it is. I just saved this one because the model was really hot. And then we have stripes. Now these stripes are, you know, they go back and forth. They're not really consistent. You see, when I did this one, I did the stripes so that you can see that when I add 2 yarns in different colors in my machine, they kind of change by themselves. You just put the 2 yarns together, you know, they will just change with the movement of the machine. Now if you add another color, so like for example, if I have a brown and a beige, if I add 2 browns and 1 beige, so 3 yarns instead of 2, it creates the stripes are a lot less harsh. They're a lot more soft, like this. Okay, so I made this. So this was knit sideways. So if you look at it sideways, you can see that here the darker pink has more surface area and the light pink goes in stripes, but they're not full stripes. 2 yarns of the dark pink and 1 of the light one all together in the same project. So this is kind of how I do stripes that are in this kind of manner. They're very kind of random, and for this, if I was to do something like this in my machine, I would have 2 grays, 1 beige all the way till here, and then here I would change to 2 beiges, 1 gray, and then I would knit all the way up. And then it's fun because the back side becomes opposite, which is always nice. And then we have this, which I think is just there's a specific machine that this is done in, and this is the wrong side of the fabric. I love seeing like wrong sides of a fabric made into the right side, because obviously after they had the wrong side of the fabric up, they finished it with the ribs in the right way so that you can button it up and everything. yeah, I think this is really pretty. I love the backside of a lot of knits. Maria McManus, I like her. She has a lot of staple basics, oversized, so it's not for everyone, but I like them. The first one, I'm like, what is it? This looks like crochet, this acts like crochet. This is like the granny stitch, right? 3 double crochets, 1 chain, 3 double crochets, 1 chain, all the way up. Now, the general rule of thumb is if it's crochet, it's handmade. If it's knit, it depends. You probably machine made, but it can be handmade. There are machines that make things that look a lot like crochet, especially the granny stitch. I've seen it. I've touched garments that have a sort of stitch that when you look up close, it's not really a crochet stitch. It looks a lot like it. And especially because this was made, it's not made on a round. So the thing that machines will not do, because we don't do machines like this, is to do like a granny square where it goes around in a square doing these very intricate stitches. Machine doesn't really do that. But this, it goes up just from side to side. And that is a way that machine will work. It will create a piece of fabric from side to side. But I don't like to say that because crochet is handmade. But there are things that look like crochet that are not handmade. And people already have a hard time differentiating between knits and crochets. And then we have knits that look like crochet. And I think it's really bad for people who actually crochet because crochet takes so long, guys. Crochet takes so long. To do something like this in crochet, actual crochet, would take a couple of days. At least if one person was working on it. And if it was a very skilled person, very fast person. I would probably take 4 to 5 days to do something like this if I was just working on this. Maybe more. Every time I look at something that is like more commercial, I'm like, maybe this is machine. I don't know. These are my thoughts. Still, granny stitch, probably crocheted, nice big oversized blouse. And then we have these pants. This stitch I'm pretty sure is made in a knitting machine. I've seen this stitch way too many times. I'm pretty sure this is a very, very commercially used type of knitted stitch that looks like crochet. What's so knit about it? Nothing really, but look, they have these things. All of them have these little trims that spice up the look, and they're all like fiber arc. There is a type of crochet knot, crochet stitch that looks a lot like this. And I don't know, because this is such a thin yarn, I just think it's handmade, like hand crochet in the bottoms of these pieces, like here in the cuffs and in the pockets. I like these because I always think it's really nice to look at something and be like, oh, I'm gonna add a trim to it. I'm just gonna do a little trim. My mom used to do this to my school uniforms. When I grew, she did like hems, crocheted hems in my school uniform, like in my pants and stuff, to make them longer so that I could wear them a little longer. I think this is a fun way to spice up an outfit. At the same time, I think it's a little random, but it's a design feature that you can choose to do. I don't know. Let's talk about SC103. I hate this. I'm sorry, but I don't even know what this brand is, what it stands for. Maybe there's a cause, but I really don't like these kinds of things. To me, this looks like day one of a fashion university, and they have a bunch of materials laid on a table, and you're like, oh, there's string. I can crochet. I will do clothes. I will do this outfit. And then you come up with this, and you add these little buttons here, and whatever this is. I really hate it. It just looks like a school project. Like, there's nothing wrong with school projects. Like, I value craft. I value the time that people spend doing a piece of garment, a piece of work. But also with taste, with a vision, with like, I don't know. Because I know the things that I do are not for everyone. But I think very long and hard about them, about how things are going to go together. This doesn't look like it. It looks like you just had things and you had to use them, so you did. I don't know. Off-white. This is cool. I've been really liking the cowboy theme. My nose has closed. I'm sorry if I sound really strange. I just really want to go through all of these. I'm almost at the end. So for off-white, we have these like cowboy teams. When I looked at these designs, I was like, oh, this is cool. They're mixing this mesh with like a leather or like a fabric. I like when designers like mix random fabrics. I love a mesh. Like I look at a mesh, I'm like, oh, this could be crochet, you know. But I like this look. But then I did a zoom, and this is all knit. This is an intarsia. Okay, they probably set the machine, they did the little star design, and the machine does long ass strips, and then they just probably cut it. But I think this star design is a really nice way for me to show an intarsia. Remember the very first look that we looked into, the monse look? That had a few colors into it, a few changes of colors. For this one, we have 2 colors, and we can do a little sample for we all to see.
Okay, so I knit a few rows with the normal carriage that I've been using for everything right now. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out, and I am going to bring my yarn out of the antenna. I have my yarn, and actually, luckily this is a skein because I will be getting a little bit of the outside and doing a few separate bundles. So I'll just do, okay, I did second color, so I have a little bit less, a little bit more, and then I'll just drop this. I'm using it, it's still attached. So I have 1, 2, 3 pieces of red. And then for the second color, which is the brown, I'm actually doubling this yarn because it's a lot thinner than this red one. So I'm doing 2 little bundles for this one. Okay, so I have 1, 2 browns and 3 reds. And now I'm going to do the stars. So I made a little grid for that star. And as you can see, each one of these squares is going to be a stitch, and this is numbered, so my machine has the numbers on it. Can you see? This is a 10, and then here's a 5, and there's a 0. So I can follow my grid in my machine. The reason I separated 3 reds and 2 browns is because, see, in these parts we have the background is the red and the orangey, whatever color this is going to be the brown. The better practice in intarsia is to separate each continuous part of color. So here is all background, so here's all one red, and then here we have a brown. So in the same row, each horizontal line is one row. So here we have, for example, red and then a little bit of brown, and then red and then a little bit of brown and then red. So for those parts, I have them separated. And now let's actually do it. This is the intarsia carriage. In the machine, you really do need a separate carriage to do the intarsia. You cannot do it with the normal carriage. So it's just a separate thing that you would have to buy if you want to do intarsia and you have a knitting machine. I'm using the same tension that I'm using in the other carriage. And when I go one way through, the first time it doesn't do anything because it puts the needles in the position that they have to be for the intarsia. And now I'll actually start doing the design. So here I can go all the way till 10 minus 2 stitches for my first brown stitch. And then for my first brown, I have these paper clips. And I just put, so we have only one little stitch in the brown, so I'll put the brown in that stitch, and then I will hold it with a paper clip, and then I like to hold the rest of the yarn with another clip. Alright, stay there, stay. And then I will grab the second bit of red, the smaller amount, because it's just going here, and I will do the same thing. So I will go from the next needle. Oh, I started it in the wrong way. I'll just show you. And then I will go all the way till the 5th plus 1. Okay, like this. And then I'll just hold it all with only one paper clip. And now other brown and red to the end. All of my little balls are going in the same direction. They start here in my left and they go to the right, and all of the balls are here. So the carriage has to come from here to there. So I started it wrong. So now I'll take my carriage all the way there and it will knit. So you can see it's all here. So the latches of the needles are all open and the yarn is on the needles and the latch is open. So the latch will catch the yarn. A bit of resistance there. Give me a second. I don't know what. Oh, okay. Oops. Okay, so now I'm going on to the next row, and I can like block off the first one that I already did. Depends on how you were working, but I can just. And now I have this one, and now we're going that way. So this one goes till 10 minus 3, then 1, 2, 3, and then I get the brown, and I will go into 2 needles, and then I get my second red that is here, like so, and then I'll go all the way 5 minus 1 stitch, and then I'll get the brown, 2 stitches like so, and then the final red just here. And then just now we're going that way. We just there's no separation anymore all the way up, so I'm just using one brown. Okay, so these yarns, the first one of the browns and the middle red, I'm not using, so I'm taking it out so that it doesn't tangle as much. I'm leaving a little tail. Now I have less yarn to manage. And now here. Alright, so now I will do a few more rows. Now I could use this just to do straight rows, but because all of the needles are out of working position,
I will just use the normal carriage. Oh my god. I'm doing a few more rows just so it's not like sitting there. And I'll cast it off.
Have I already overdone it on the tutorials? Yes, I have. But look, so I did like 4 rows of the brown, and yes, brown is harder to see. Anything darker is harder to see on the machine and by hand as well. And then I can come in here and just, there's a helicopter going by. I gotta love the helicopters. One, two, and now let's go in the middle one. Oh, this is gonna be fragile. I'm not gonna do this one. And you can't forget to bring them back, because otherwise it just becomes a leather, not just a little hole. It's obviously a very different mesh from the one in the outfit.
Yeah, so we have a cute little star. And I think it's really cute. Now, when we talk about machine like this, making a design, also, yeah, I didn't weave in the ends. This could be done in a jacquard, and this video is too long, so I'm not going to talk about jacquard right now, but a jacquard makes 2 color designs. So if you're just using 2 colors, you can usually do a jacquard. It's a little faster. But I like an intarsia, even if it's just 2 colors. This is kind of how it is. This is a star, and you can see it's pixelated because it has to be. You know, I have the constraints of the stitches to work in. And this is what I was talking about back, you know, a million hours ago when I was talking about intarsia. I love a good intarsia. And then I was not done with my star because I wanted to see the full look. So I made another little mesh. And this is actually kind of wrong because I forgot to look at the picture before starting it. And this mesh is very much straight. I would have to make the holes all on the same line, not in alternating needles. But I made this one in alternating needles, and it's so nice. And look, this is the combination, the off-white idea. Isn't it cool? Like, I could just make this. Obviously, you know, I have a knitting machine. I have a lot of yarn. But this is something that you can do. It will take longer if you do it by hand, but you can. And I just think this look was really fun, so I have it here. Cool look. Simkai is our last brand. For some reason, I'm always drawn to these kind of fabrics. This is not fiber art. These, like, they have these shapes, these flowers and things that are probably like machine embroidered. The machine just makes the fabric. But I think they look nice because I always think, oh, this could be interpreted in a crochet. Like, you could make a bunch of motifs, a bunch of different flowers and shapes with crochet and then stitch them together, or maybe, you know, stitch them in a tulle and have like a mixed media kind of thing. So every time I see something like this, I always kind of want to talk about it, even though it's not really crochet or knit or fiber art or even something that I know anything about, but I think it's cool. And this is how it looks close up. And then we're gonna end with a little this. I think it's macrame. I'm not sure. This looks like macrame to me. Like, you know, macrame, you do knots and join things, and then they probably just go in with like a stitch on the sides to make it sturdier. And like, I think that because you can see like here, the braids, like the motif, the pattern changes when it's about to reach the color, and then here it continues, it goes up, so it changes a lot. It's not just like a fabric that you cut and there's the pattern all the way through and you cut it in the middle of the pattern. The pattern was changed here to reach the collar and such. And then there's obviously the fringe. So in my head, they made this. They like macramated, they did little knots and joined them in little knots. But I don't know if that's how they did it. Anyway, this is the end. This video is gigantic, so I'll make it quick. Let me know which one was your favorite, which of these techniques you knew about, which of them was news to you. Would you like to use any of these techniques for a project of yours? Was I wrong? And anything like, was it technically wrong? And do you disagree with some of the things that I said in regards to some of the designs? Was maybe some of the designs that I absolutely disliked some of your favorites? Let me know in the comments down below. Consider subscribing to this channel. Also, thank you very, very much for 80,000. That's an insane number. It's so many people. Thank you so much for subscribing, and if you haven't yet, consider subscribing and liking the video. Also, I have my social media here. It's the same. It's Carolina's Closet everywhere, and TikTok and Instagram. Consider following me there. I have a part 2 of the New York with some big brands. Still, I have Tommy Hilfiger. I don't know, some other brands. A whole lot, like a whole 100 slide presentation for New York part 2, and then I'll do London, Milan, and Paris. I already have London and Milan saved, and I have to save Paris. Paris is still happening right now. I really do hope to make all of the fashion weeks. I think this is really nice. I really feel really inspired making these. I had so much fun today making all these samples. But I can never promise anything because life just happens. I do really want to be posting a lot more. Hopefully I'm able to. And I kind of want to try and bring at least 1 or 2 Halloween related stuff, costumes. So let me know if there's any spooky season either costumes, a specific kind of costume, specific decoration thing that you would like to see, and also just anything else. It doesn't have to be spooky season related. Anything that you would like to see this channel, let me know, because I would love to know, what the people who watch me want to see. And that is about it. I yapped for way too long. I don't have a voice. I don't have air coming out of my nose, so I will stop and I will sleep and I'll edit this video and I will have it up, and I hope you enjoyed it. That is it. I will see you hopefully very, 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 very soon.